the tale of a Revolutionary War widow who some say still occupies a Massachusetts lighthouse, to the return of a Vermont farmer whose final wishes were never fulfilled. This is a chilling collection of ghostly tales from the 6 states of New England. The Plymouth Light, also known as Gurnard Light, is located at Gurnard Point, Massachusetts. Unlike many New England lighthouses, it's not particularly famous for hauntings. Yet, one story is tied to this historic 18th century site. In the 1760s, before the lighthouse existed, John and Hannah Thomas lived near the northern mouth of Plymouth Bay. During that decade, they agreed to have a lighthouse built on their property under the condition that John would be appointed as the lighthouse keeper. The agreement was made and the lighthouse began operating in 1769. However, John's time at the lighthouse was short. He joined the Revolutionary War, and in 1766, all responsibilities of maintaining the light fell to Hannah. Tragically, John died of smallpox during the war. Hannah, dedicated to her duty, continued operating the lighthouse until her death 14 years later. Though she is considered the first female lighthouse keeper in the US, she served before the establishment of the Federal Lighthouse Service and is not always officially recognized. After a fire destroyed the lighthouse in 1801, it was rebuilt with a second tower added. Both were rebuilt again in 1842, but in 1924, the northeast tower was decommissioned and later dismantled. The remaining south tower, now known as Plymouth Light, was relocated 140 feet, 43 meters north, in 1998 due to cliff erosion. That same decade, lighthouse photographers Bob and Sandra Shanklin stayed overnight at the old keeper's dwelling. Bob, a pragmatic and skeptical man, awoke during the night to a glowing figure floating a few inches above his sleeping wife. He described it as the head and shoulders of a young woman with long parted hair and a colonial-style garment. Avoiding her gaze, he turned toward the window, focusing on the rotating lighthouse beam. After the 5th rotation, he looked back, and she was gone. In a 1998 interview for a documentary titled Haunted Lighthouses, Bob referred to the spirit as "My Lady." Could this ghostly figure be Hannah Thomas, still mourning her lost husband after all these years? Across the world, many spirits are called the White Lady, but few are as well known as the White Lady of Union Cemetery in eastern Connecticut. Located near the junction of Routes 59 and 136, this centuries-old graveyard is said to be haunted by a woman in a flowing white gown, some say a wedding dress, seen drifting among the tombstones. Just 4 miles away, a similar spectre has been spotted in Stephanie Cemetery in Monroe. Many believe it's the same ghost. Though the legend was already popular locally, paranormal investigators Ed and Lorraine Warren, residents of Monroe, brought the story to national attention. Tourists and ghost hunters flocked to the cemetery until frequent vandalism led police to ban all access after dusk. 2 of the most well-known encounters with the White Lady happened in the early 1990s. The first was in 1990. A man named Rod, after finishing a late shift at Home Depot in Bridgeport, was driving near the cemetery just before 1 a.m. Suddenly, the apparition of an elderly man appeared in the passenger seat of his truck, pointed ahead, and vanished. Moments later, Rod saw a woman in white standing in the road. arm outstretched as if trying to stop him. He said he felt a rush of cold air as he passed through her. Shaken and overwhelmed with sadness, he continued. Home. Upon arrival, he noticed the side of his road was briefly bathed in deep blood-red light. Rod later shared his story with Ed Warren. Intrigued, Warren visited Union Cemetery every night for the next week, filming the grounds. On the 7th night, he claimed to have captured the White Lady on video, footage that, to this day, has never been released. The second sighting happened in 1993 during a thunderstorm. A fireman named Glenn claimed to have struck a figure with his vehicle on Route 59. He was accompanied by an off-duty police officer who confirmed the sighting, along with another driver following behind. Although Glenn's vehicle sustained damage, there was no sign of the person they thought they'd hit. Theories about the White Lady's identity vary. Some say she was a bride-to-be who died before her wedding. Others say she was murdered after, killing her husband. Another version claims she died in childbirth. Some link the ghost to Harriet R. Kelly, who died in 1853, a week after losing her young son. A curious newspaper clipping from 1871 might hint at the legend's true origin. According to the New York Times, hundreds in Bridgeport witnessed the shadow of a woman hovering atop a child's grave. Possibly the boy who was thrown down a staircase in cemetery was 10 miles south of Union Cemetery. Could this long-forgotten sighting be a boy who was thrown down a staircase and the true birth of Connecticut's White Lady? Whether you believe in the supernatural or not, this next story is undeniably tragic. In March of 1976, a young Boston mother named Eileen Campbell had grown disillusioned with city life. Boston had become intimidating, with rising crime and unemployment. She wanted a better life for her 2 small children. Her husband, whose name was never revealed, found what he believed was their dream home in eastern Maine. He called from the Denny River in Dennisville, urging her to come. She packed up her children and drove their 1968 Chevy north. The 200-year-old farmhouse sat on 5 acres and was perfect, except for one room. As Eileen climbed the stairs and entered a small back bedroom, a sudden wave of dread stopped her. The room was cold, north-facing, with a chimney and a small window overlooking the driveway. Trying to ignore the feeling, Eileen and her husband bought the house and moved in that August. Soon, they welcomed a new baby girl named Jacqueline. But Eileen never intended for any of her children to sleep in or near the back room. Even their intended bedroom, which shared a hatch-locked door with the dreaded space, felt too close. She began noticing strange things. The old rusty latch, far too high for any child to reach, would often be found unhooked in the morning. Her husband brushed off her fears, blaming television and imagination. But it kept happening, day after day. Soon she began dreaming of holding a lifeless child. It was always one of her own. Each night, the nightmare returned. Each morning, the latch was unhooked. Then the dream changed. In it, the child's face was undefined, smudged. A voice called out, "Choose!" Terrified, Eileen yelled at the presence one night, storming into the back room to confront it. She saw, just for a moment, a small black figure huddled in the corner, fragile, sad, and ghost-like. Then it vanished. After that night, the dream stopped. But peace was short-lived. A month later, Jacqueline fell ill. The local doctor misdiagnosed her with teething fever. Hours later, her temperature soared and she began convulsing. Though airlifted to a pediatric unit in Portland, it was too late. Eileen never saw the backroom spirit again.